How's it going, guys? WTS Weather here, and today we're going to be making an update on the next tropical wave, which will be most likely named Ernesto within the next 5 days. It's out here in the Atlantic. I just circled it right now. We're going to go ahead and get straight into it, guys. This is a pretty concerning threat that we have going on here. So we're going to go ahead and show you guys just what's going on with this wave today, and what kind of impacts you can expect, and the overall forecast for this system. So here's what the NHC has currently. This red X is our wave that we're working with here today. And currently the NHC has a 30% chance of development within the next 48 hours when I'm recording this video, and an 80% chance within the next 5 days, which means it's very high chances something's going to form within this area. Currently is what the models are showing. At this point, it's not a question of whether or not it's going to form. The question is, how strong is it going to be, and what is the track looking like? And that's what we're going to break down today. So here's a GFS model currently. We're jumping straight into the models today. This is 24 hours from now. Here's our system right here, our tropical wave out in the Atlantic. A little quite weak, just a few showers at the moment. And as we move on now, this is August 11th, Sunday, August 11th. The system is still quite a distance from the Caribbean, and it's still a weak storm. And what you're going to see here is it does really take a while. It does take a while for the system to get going. Right now, the convection is very broad in this system. It's not really consolidated yet, and we're gonna take a long time to see any sort of development here. But now on Monday, August 12th, the afternoon Monday, GFS models predicting a tropical storm forming just off the coast of the Caribbean. It's Tuesday, August 13th. We're working with a strong tropical storm bringing impacts all along these islands here in the Caribbean. The storm's only going to strengthen, guys. You're going to see the GFS model really wants to spin this thing up here once it gets into the open water. And now we have a 995 tropical storm. That's most likely a very strong tropical storm just off the coast of Puerto Rico here. And just look at the rainfall. There's a ton of rainfall here, a little swath of rain out here. There's going to be a lot of flooding over the next couple of days in the Caribbean. And now this is Wednesday. This is Wednesday, August 14th. We're working with a strong tropical storm to a possible hurricane off the coast of Puerto Rico here. And really, I don't think wind is going to be too much of a concern for Puerto Rico. I think really the main concern at this point in time is going to be the rainfall. Rainfall is going to be astonishing amounts. There's going to be a lot of rainfall. That's really going to be a big concern at the moment for these Caribbean islands, and that's one thing that's really set in stone right now, is that there's going to be a lot of rainfall for Puerto Rico. There's going to be a lot of rainfall for many of the islands in the Caribbean out here. And as I told you guys, once the GFS gets this thing in the open water, it just starts spinning up. The conditions are there to see some potential quick intensification. I'm not sure if I'd put the label rapid intensification yet. Now we're dealing with a hurricane, a strong Category 1 hurricane off the coast of the Dominican Republic. And just look at the rainfall, guys. Look at how fast it spins up. This is August 14th. This is on Wednesday. We have a hurricane off the coast of the Dominican Republic, bringing flooding, bringing storm surge, bringing winds, strong winds. And yeah, once the storm crosses into this Caribbean area, it's game on for this system. The sea, I'm going to show you guys later. The sea surface temperatures are ripe. There's a ton of oceanic heat content, and yeah, this storm really just has the ingredients to get going here in a hurry. And around sometime overnight on Wednesday into Thursday, we do see a hurricane landfall in the Dominican Republic. Now, this is just one possible solution. This is a really robust solution. There's many different models that are forecasting different scenarios, which I'm going to show you guys. So take this with a grain of salt, of course, because at the moment this is really not set in stone. This most likely will change over the upcoming days. After making landfall, the system is weakening a little bit here into the Thursday, but then again, it's going to move into an area of warm sea surface temperatures, high oceanic heat content, and it's just going to continue to strengthen pretty quickly here, according to the GFS. And now we're working with a pretty strong hurricane off the coast of the Bahamas on August 16th, Friday. It just quickly strengthens here, very quickly strengthens, and The GFS model does show that this system presents no threat towards the United States. Um, on this is Sunday, August 18th. The GFS shows a very deep, low pressure system off the coast of the United States. And even though a lot of common misconception is just because it's not making landfall doesn't mean that there's not going to be impacts. You're going to see with this if this track does verify, you're going to see strong, very strong swells, very strong rip currents all the way up the coast. And it's going to create an issue on a lot of beaches, cause a lot of flooding, a lot of coastal flooding along beaches. If you see a system of this strength just sitting off the coast, it gets a little crazy as we get farther out. I wouldn't really buy into this too much. A 957 low pressure system sitting off the coast. Yeah, again, just because it's not making landfall doesn't mean there's not going to be problems. You'll see coastal flooding, a lot of storm surge off off the eastern seaboard, a lot of big swells off in the ocean. And then this is Monday, August 19th. The GFS does take this system as an extratropical cyclone up into Canada. It's still a little bit too far out to tell whether or not this is going to verify. So, again, don't really want to make too many concerns about this. But what I do want to show you guys is just exactly the mechanics behind this system. So, currently right here, we're working with this is now back to August 14th on Wednesday. We're working with a very strong tropical system out here just off the coast of Puerto Rico. And what we're looking for in the next couple of days is really a couple of things. Firstly, the strength of the system. The GFS does show that this system, which would be Ernesto, is going to be very, very strong compared to a lot of other models at this point in time. So we're going to see that a strong system really make more of a northern, more of an eastern path, and a stronger storm would increase the chances of a fish storm, which would be a storm that doesn't impact the mainland United States. However, if we do see this system weaken, there is a possibility that we can potentially see a track closer into the United States. Now, at this point in time, I wouldn't really count on a landfall in Florida. That's probably very unlikely at this point. However, there is a potential that if this system ends up a lot weaker than what is being modeled, ends up being just a weak tropical depression, maybe it can't get its convection together, maybe there's too much dry air within the system, then we will see more of a closer track to the United States, which would bring a lot more problems than what the GFS is modeling. So this system should be monitored closely for anyone on the eastern seaboard. The system should be monitored. Okay guys, so just really quickly here, the new GFS model just came out while I was recording this video, so I I had to include this update for you guys. So again, here we have our wave sitting off the coast of the Caribbean. I do want to show you guys what's going to happen. A 994 tropical storm going a little bit further south. Now we're working with most likely a hurricane going a little bit further south, just under Puerto Rico. Not really bringing that many concerns as what the previous run showed. And here now we're working with a most likely Category 2 hurricane moving its way into the Dominican Republic, making landfall, which would be absolutely terrible with the rainfall and the winds. And then the mountainous terrain of the Dominican Republic is going to weaken this system a lot if it does end up making landfall. So really what we're watching right now is, does this system make landfall in the Dominican Republic? And if it does, then it's going to be a different story, because the last model run showed a very slight landfall up through the eastern part of the Dominican Republic. This model run shows a landfall up through a more western track of the Dominican Republic. So what that's going to do is it's going to take the storm down and make it a lot weaker than what the last model run showed. And as I already told you guys, we are watching the strength of the system. A weaker system is going to move further to the west, and a stronger system would curve out to sea further north. And unfortunately, what we're going to see here with this model run is a system that just once it gets off the Dominican Republic, it continuously has land interaction. It can't really get spin up like the last one was showing as much. And again, we're going to see this system, this is now August 18th, sitting off the coast of the eastern seaboard a lot closer than what the last run showed. And I really hope this doesn't become a trend, because if it does, it's going to open the door for some worst possibilities to happen. We're going to open the door for some more impacts as the system gets closer to land. And continuing now, it's now the 18th year, we see the system kind of start to curve in a little bit as it gets picked up by a trough here. And again, unfortunately, This run does take it much closer to the United States. It has a 973 low pressure system sitting just off the coast of Massachusetts, which would bring a boatload of problems to this part of the United States, to the northeast United States. And I really hope that this doesn't become the trend, because if it does, then we could be talking with a completely different scenario than what I was just showing you guys. So again, this is the new model run. I'm going to keep you guys updated, and I just want to throw this quick update in there. But yeah, anyways, back to the video. Okay, so now taking a look at the rainfall, one of the major threats with this system, we do see this is the GFS model again, and this is over the course of the system's life. We see a lot of rainfall occurring over Puerto Rico, over some of these northern Caribbean islands. We see a ton of rainfall, and we're talking totals anywhere from 2 to 4 inches, and unfortunately, in the Dominican Republic, we are looking at some potential totals over maybe 6 to 10 inches of rainfall, which would just be catastrophic for a lot of areas. And even in the eastern Bahamas too, we are looking at a ton of rainfall for many areas. And in the eastern Caribbean, we again looking at a lot of rainfall on some of these islands. Some islands seeing 6 to 10 inches again, which would be absolutely catastrophic and would cause major problems in a lot of areas. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the European ensembles for this storm and what they currently are forecasting for our tropical wave here. So currently our wave is sitting off in the Atlantic at the moment, churning up some thunderstorms. Most of the models are in general agreement at this point that this storm is going to bring effects into Puerto Rico, into the Dominican Republic. There are going to into the Eastern Caribbean. There are going to be effects that you guys have to watch out for. But then you guys can clearly see that as we move out further in the forecast period, the models become very widespread. It's very unknown currently what's going to happen at this point in time. I will say though that they are trending a little bit further eastward at this current moment. The models are trending a little bit further eastward compared to where they were a day or two ago. We can still see, again, as I told you guys, if we see a weaker track, you do still see a few models taking it very close to shore in the United States. And again, a track close like this, a very close track, even though there's not a landfall, it's still going to cause major problems, storm surge and rainfall issues all along the coast, and it would just be a nightmare for many. Here's the GFS ensembles, and they are a little bit further east than the European models, and many of them again take the system straight through the Eastern Caribbean and into Puerto Rico. It's been pretty much locked in stone at this point in time that there is going to be some sort of tropical system. Whether or not it makes landfall, it's going to bring effects to your area. And again, you can see once the system gets out in the Atlantic, it just really spins up. We're talking Category 2, Category 3 hurricane being forecasted by many of the ensembles. And even though it may not make landfall on the eastern coast, it's still going to bring plenty of problems all along the eastern seaboard. So here is our sea surface temperatures that we're working with this invest. So basically what this is telling us right now is that this storm has perfect fuel. We're seeing potential or Ernesto is going to be moving into areas of very, very warm waters, 30 degrees Celsius. That is very warm waters that easily, if the storm gets a nice strong core, a nice tight core, it can easily spin up and maybe even begin some rapid intensification out here, maybe north of the Caribbean, north of the Dominican Republic. There are very warm sea surface temperatures. We're talking 30 degrees Celsius and maybe even getting a little bit higher than that. We're seeing our system currently is out in the Atlantic. The sea surface temperatures are only going to get warmer, and you're only going to see that convection. Now we're looking at the ocean heat content. Our wave is somewhere off of the Atlantic right now, and as it gets closer to the Caribbean, that oceanic heat content is only going to get much higher here. We're talking some very, very, very energized waters out here. There's going to be a lot of energy for this system to tap into, especially if it follows tracks that the models are currently forecasting. We really are going to need to watch out for maybe some potential rapid intensification of this system as it moves into the Caribbean. This is intensity guidance for the system. We see within the next 120 hours, 2 models do take it up to Category 4. They are a little bit of outliers here. A lot of the models do show slow strengthening, but you can see it really start to ramp up once it gets into that Caribbean area. It really starts to ramp up once it gets into that Caribbean area, and that's again what we're gonna have to watch out for. It's not really too certain whether or not we're gonna see some sort of rapid intensification, but I do think it is possible depending on the structure of the storm, and that's currently what we're waiting to see as the storm develops. Right now, this is our invest, and as it develops, we are waiting to see what the structure is going to look like and whether or not it will be conducive for rapid intensification. Right now, it is quite a broad circulation. There's quite a broad amount of convection. Over the past couple of hours, you can see it has become better organized, and that convection is really starting to consolidate. However, I would not predict or would not expect a tropical storm within the next 48 hours. If a tropical storm forms, it will be with 3 or more days. I do think the system needs a good amount of time to form. There's dry air up to the north that we're dealing with, and this convection is very, very broad out here. So again, as the system consolidates, we are going to get a better handle on what the models are showing. But at this current point in time, I would definitely keep my eyes on this system. If you are in the Caribbean, this system needs to be monitored. Yeah, so that's basically going to do it for today, guys. That's about it. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will be making updates on this storm as we get a better handle on it. And feel free to subscribe and drop a like if you enjoyed the video. And if you have any questions, don't be afraid to leave a comment. And I will see you guys tomorrow.